Hello, Merry Christmas. We'll be starting the show in about 5 minutes. Um, Small
4
intro,
minutes until showtime.
down to 4 minutes. um, this is going to be a fun show, and I hate to come out and say we're going to be mocking somebody, but part of what this does, and actually, when you actually look at Islamic scriptures, which what we're going to do today, it becomes somewhat mocking. If you actually show people what they say. So when we look at why the ASPCA should be actually formulating a response to what should they say about Islam, they should be very concerned. Hi, Chloe. Hey, XYZ. Thank you for joining us. It's scary. It is scary when you start to look at what Islamic scriptures really say and what they want to do here. And what I mean by here is everywhere. I'm talking about America. I'm talking about anywhere in the world. And I'm
3
going to prove that
minutes
to you tonight.
until showtime.
The old name for this show used to be Civilization Jihad Awareness. And I changed to Sutliffian Report just as COVID hit, so I could talk about more. It was actually just before COVID hit, or before it became public. I've got a lot to cover tonight. I'm hoping I can put it all in. There is an awful lot of stuff to cover, and I work with some great people. I mean, Eric and Rad and oh my gosh, Dr. Kufarphobia and whoever. I've been talking with some great people, and they actually helped put this presentation together. I credit Eric for my conclusion picture. I've added a few more things since then, just because of some help other people have given me. We're gonna be talking about a lot of things today. Just waiting. We're
2
waiting for the
minutes
Black Talk
until
Radio thing
showtime.
to start in 2 minutes, and then we will go into this. I'm kind of excited. What we have to go here, it's gonna be, my best way to put it is a shocking eye opener, because again, when you look at Islamic scriptures, as Eric did yesterday, I think if you were unaware of what Islamic scripture said, and you heard what the stuff that he presented yesterday, you'd be like jaw dropping. I don't even think that his guest, Yahya, Islam Defender, actually knew what some of these things said. Why? And that bothers me. Here we have Muslims who claim to be followers of Muhammad, and they don't know what their scriptures say. I don't think he was aware of some of those things. And then he wanted to deny them, and he couldn't prove anything was
1
wrong.
minute until
Well, we're not going to
showtime.
have a debate tonight. We're just going to look at those scriptures. We're going to talk about them. And it's going to be powerfully interesting. And wow, I mean, got 2 minutes till we start. It's going to be fun. It's not fun to tear something down, but it is fun to expose evil. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight. That's what we're going to do. All right, let me just take a couple looks here, see what I've got ready to go. I'm double checking things. Yeah, I'd say he's, I would say about Yahya, the statements he said yesterday actually classify him according to Sharia as an apostate.
Your show will go live in 5
Okay,
seconds.
I've got to
4,
turn these on.
3, 2,
2,
1.
1. Hello, welcome to the Sutliffian Report. Today we are going to talk about the ASPCA and, believe it or not, what they should say about Islam. And I wrote a chapter in my last book, the cancer of civilization jihad, All right. I want people to go pick that up. It's now available in an EPUB. You can find it on Smashwords. You can find it on Amazon. I'm going to put it out in several different places. The biggest thing that I can ask people to do is to actually to support me by, if you want to help, just get out there and help support my work by, buying my, I don't want just donations. I guess what I want in truthfulness is more, which would be simply, I'm looking for people to be able to share what they're learning. And one of the great things about books is that it gives you actual things you can use to actually support that way. And I got to do one more thing. I just want to make sure one more thing here. I don't know that. Check something here. And there is just a lot of information out there today. So here we go. I want to talk about today one of the most insane, and I'm laughing. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I want to talk about one of the most insane things that I've ever heard of. And that simply is, it's just, like I say, insane about the ASPCA. Oh, and I do want to start with the scriptures. So let me get to that. I always start, this is a Christian news show, and I do want to start with scriptures. And today we're reading from 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 to 5. And I, brethren, when I came to you, came not with excellency of speech or wisdom, declaring unto you the testimony of God. For I determined not to know anything among you save Jesus Christ and him crucified. And I was with you in weakness and in fear and in much trembling. And my speech and preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. Paul preached Jesus Christ crucified, dead, and buried, and risen from the dead. Nothing more, nothing less. The basic, simple nature of this message is simply the word of God, the wisdom of God. No special fancy words can paint the horror and nature of Christ's death in our place. No description of his resurrection with fancy words are needed. This simple message of a man, a chosen weak vessel by God Almighty, and was God Almighty. That's all that God wanted. Too many today go before men with fancy words and beautiful speech, hoping to do nothing more than earn their keep, when all that is needed is this simple message of Christ crucified, dead and buried, but risen. You don't need to be a pastor or evangelist to share this message. Paul's message was unrefined. It was raw. It wasn't done with fancy words. He spoke from the heart. He planted seeds. God watered them, and many came to a personal relationship with God who loved them first. You can do this too. Dear Lord Jesus, I need your daring boldness. Lord, use me, mold me, and make me after your will, that I may be one whose life and simple message of you plants seeds of your love. Lord, may those I know who are bold and share Christ see the fruit of planting your seed after you have watered it. Let them see it grow, Lord. May they see those blossoms. May they see the changed lives so that they may be encouraged to never be silent as they go through their daily lives. Lord, may even their children also see the fruit and be encouraged to continue in your word and grace, that they also may share your word. In Jesus' name, amen. So today, wow, I'm going to get into this really quick here. I probably put more together than I should have, but I have something incredible to share today, and I intend to shock everybody. What do I mean by that? It's hard. It is really hard. Once you hear some of this stuff, it'll blow your mind. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen because I put this together. I've been working on this all week. And let's see here. And here we go. And make sure everybody can hear. So here we go. Just testing everything, making sure everything's right before I start getting into it. Apologize. Okay. So here we go. What should the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals say about Islam? And I got to get there. Sorry, putting the mouse in the right spot helps. All right. The Sutliffian Report live now. Please make sure you do hit subscribe. Please make sure you do hit like. That helps. That helps with you get the algorithms get going. And actually, the big thing it helps is for those people who don't usually get to see something like this. The more likes we get, and that goes for everybody, like Eric and Chris Claus, Rad, everyone that has a YouTube channel. The more likes they can get, the more they're going to get seen. That's how the system works. Okay. Let's talk about what the ASPCA is. ASPCA is the American Society for the Protection Against Cruelty to Animals. They have a part of their work talks about reporting animal cruelty. On their website, it says, if you think someone you know is abusing animals, please speak up. The best thing you can do is report your suspicions of cruelty to your local law enforcement agency, humane organization, an animal control agency, or taxpayer-funded animal shelter. And, it tells you to read on to find out more. Okay, so this gets important. So hold on just a second. I'm still working here. Okay. Wow. Some of these things, you're just going to see and go, wait a minute, can that be true? Okay. I am not into animal cruelty, but there is a horrible thing called reality. And what do Islamic scriptures say about the treatment of dogs? And as you can see, this is Saudi Arabia. Yeah. It's not too long ago, too. So let's start with Sahih Bukhari. And I'm just going to drop me out of the screen so everybody can see a little better. All right. This comes from Sahih Bukhari, 3323, or it's book 59, hadith 129. Allah's apostle ordered that the dog should be killed. Looks like that they followed through, doesn't it? Don't you think that qualifies as something the ASPCA should be concerned about? I would think so. I would think anybody reading Islamic scripture should be concerned. Let's keep going. Pardon me, I'm going to keep going back and forth between screens. This comes from Ibn Majah, the chapters on hunting. It was narrated that Ibn Umar said, the messenger of Allah commanded that dogs be killed. Again, it says it's grade Sahih. And of course, what did they do? Yeah. Let's try Abu Dawood. This is Hadith, book 10, Hadith number 2839. Narrated by Abdullah ibn Maghafal. The Prophet said, were dogs not a species of creature, I should command that they all be killed, but kill every pure black one. So he's saying, I read this, I've read it about 6 or 7 times, and I always stop and think, okay, if dogs are a species of creature, almost sounds like he wants to eliminate every dog from the planet. As you think about this, it becomes problematic. And why do I say that? He's actually, he's actually stating that Allah has created a species that he's willing to kill off. And that's one of the things that really caught me when I started looking at this. Okay, switching between screens. All right. Again, so what does this do the hadith say? This comes from Sahih al-Bukhari, ablutions, wudu, and narrated by Abdi bin Hatim. It says, I asked the Prophet about the hunting dogs, and he replied, if you let loose with Allah's name your tame dog after a game and it hunts it, you may eat it. But if the dog eats the game, then do not eat it, because the dog has hunted for itself. I further said, sometimes I send my dog for hunting and find another dog with it. He said, do not eat the game, for you have mentioned Allah's name only on sending your dog and not the other dog. So go hungry. Remember, these are desert people. They don't see, it's not as easy as me saying, you can go buy that at the store. You don't have to worry. No, this was, again, this is just bad when you think about it. All right, Sahih Muslim, book 24, hadith number 5248. Listen closely here. I am reported that one day Allah's messenger was silent with grief. Maimuni said, Allah's messenger, I find a change in your mood today. Allah's messenger said, Gabriel had promised me that he would meet me tonight, but he did not meet me. By Allah, he never broke his promises. Oh, so Gabriel breaks promises, huh? Oh, okay. Does that sound like something an angel would do? Keep thinking, people. All right, let's keep reading here. And Allah's messenger spent the day in this sad mood. Okay, he's moody. Then it occurred to him that there had been a puppy under the cot. He commanded, and it was turned out. He then took some water in his hand and sprinkled it at that place. When it was evening, Gabriel met him, and he said to him, you promised me that you would meet me in the previous night. He said, yes, but we do not enter a house where there is a dog or a picture. Then on the very morning, he commanded the killing. Catch this now. I'm going to read this one more time. I'm going to finish it. He says, then on that very morning, he commanded the killing of the dogs until he announced that dogs kept for the orchards, he's talking about working dogs, should be spared. The dog meaning the protection of extensive fields or big gardens. So the working dogs get the exception. But this order to kill all the dogs came first. So it sounds like Sahih Muslim, from what I'm reading here, that this hadith came first, or it came second to explain why there was additions. So let's think about that. Yeah, you're asking a right question there, asked Kafir. What orchards? Well, in the imaginary Mecca that somebody claims existed, because you look where Mecca is. Yeah, there's so many things about Mecca that don't make sense. Merry Christmas, everyone, too. Yes, thank you. It is. We have Christmas in 2 days. But let's keep going. So we know why Muhammad hated dogs, because Allah's messengers are not strong enough to stand up to dogs. They're afraid of dogs. They're afraid of pictures. They can't show up. So the question is, are they saying that, it's one thing from this to not show up. Are they stating fear? You have to sit there and wonder, so what does Muhammad think? If Muhammad's a real person, what does Muhammad think? Okay, so he has to hate these things because they would keep him from hearing Allah. Okay, so what are the Islamic scholars saying? Now, this should blow your mind. And I hope this, please let me know if this doesn't play. Can you hear this? Can everybody hear this?
No volume. No volume.
Oh, that's not good. Let me see what I can do.
We can see it, but there's no volume.
All right, so I'm going to hit stop sharing, and we'll try this one more time.
You got to click that lower left box.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. That's how I know.
It says share screen. And, yep, I did not hit share the system. All right. Thank you. I thought I had done that. That's me. All right, so here we go. It's not too important what she just said, so we'll just keep going.
www.quranspeaks.com. Okay, Basir, the first question is about dogs. So this person is around dogs a lot and is wondering what was the Prophet's attitude towards dogs. what are the limits around dealing with dogs, and how should a Muslim woman respond? You know, if they're always around dogs, how should they deal with the situation?
Yeah, so most people get the impression that Muslims somehow have something against
Yes.
dogs. So we need to go back and see where this comes from. There are some traditions that mention that the Prophet, peace be upon him, ordered dogs to be killed, and then he made an exception only for like the sheep dog or the guard dog, or the hunting dog. Um, but if one were to start with things in order, like first we look at the Quran to see if the Quran says anything about dogs, and then we go to the traditions and we put everything together. Well, the Quran actually doesn't say anything negative
Oh,
about
can I?
dogs. In fact, there is something positive because in the story of the youth who hid in the cave in the 18th
Oops, hold on.
chapter of the Quran, the 18th chapter, we have it that
Hmm.
they had a companion, a dog. And many commentators say that this dog will also be in paradise. Now we know that nothing
I
impure
can't turn the
is
sound
in
up
paradise, but
because
this
that's
dog
as
will
loud
be there.
as
So
I actually
some
boosted the
Muslims say that
sound
God will make this dog
already
impure, he'll
once.
be in paradise.
Sorry.
But nevertheless, the Quran does not show anything negative about the dog and doesn't show that the dog is impure. On the other hand, there is actually a mention in the Quran that the food that is procured for Muslims through by means of their hunting animals is permissible to eat. This is specifically mentioned in the fourth verse of the fifth chapter of the Quran. And among the hunting animals, there were dogs at the time. So it is well known that the dog would go hunt the animal, bring it back to or at least retrieve the animal that may have been killed by a spear or arrow. The dog would go retrieve it and bring it. So the dog comes with the animal in its mouth. Some think that the saliva of the dog is impure, but this seems to speak against that because obviously the saliva of the dog gets mingled with the meat which it brings to its master. So, from the Quranic perspective, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with dogs, and dogs may be good hunting animals, and the meat that they bring in their mouths are good for Muslims to eat. Obviously, after washing and so on, as we would treat any other meat. Um, so, where does this idea come from that dogs are somehow impure? Well, it
And
could
the
be.
saliva is impure as well.
Yes, it could be that at the time there were some dogs which were rabid, and the best way of dealing with that situation to protect the population was to euthanize some dogs. And as the people remembered the tradition, they just remembered that dogs were euthanized without remembering the reason behind it. So it's not mentioned that dogs were rabid, but that would be a good reason why dogs were euthanized. Otherwise, there'd be no good reason.
Did you catch that? He said there'd be no reason. So is Shabir, I'm spelling his last name wrong purposely, Ali, an Islamophobe? He's lying when he states and mentions rabies as a justifiable reason that dogs were killed. We know he's lying because we just read the hadith that told us why they were killed. All right. So is he afraid of true Islam? Let's think about that. Does that make him an Islamophobe?
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Zakir. My
Okay,
name
so
is
can you hear
Mohammed
this? Is
Niza.
this too
I
low?
just recently graduated from medical college.
If this
So
is
my
too low, I'm going
question
to
is
share it in a different way.
regarding the haram
All
about
right.
touching the dog. So
See if
when
I can.
listen to your answer,
Does that help?
saliva is haram probably due to the rabies. You said about
And
hydrophobia.
is that any louder?
So now recently we know there is vaccine
Okay. All
produced
right, so I'm going to
against
switch how I'm
rabies.
sharing this. Okay. So
So
hold on a minute. You hit escape. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. I will come back and share this in a different way. Sorry about that. I did share these, set these up, so I should have them. Let's see. Here we go. Come on.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Zakir. My name is Mohammed Niza. I just recently graduated from medical college. So my question is regarding the haram about touching the dog. So when I listen to your answer, the saliva is haram probably due to the rabies. you said about hydrophobia. So now recently we know there is vaccine produced against rabies. So what is your answer to it?
But the question that I gave, one of the reasons that why we should not touch the dog, and I said that licks the body. And one of the reasons that can be the reason not given the hadith, and I gave that the saliva has certain germs and rabies, etc. He being a doctor is saying that now we have a rabies vaccine, you know. So what is the reply? Brother, when you jump from the second floor, what will happen? You will fracture your leg. You go to the hospital, you have treatment for the fractured leg. Will you jump from the second floor?
No.
Why? You're a doctor. Will you die? Chances are less. Second floor you won't die, but you'll break a bone. So will you jump?
No.
You can go to the prostitute. Maybe you'll get STD. Is there treatment for STD? STD, sexually transmitted disease, gonorrhea. Treatment is there, not AIDS.
Yes, yes.
Will you go?
No.
I'm sorry. This guy
If you
is a
have diabetes-
total idiot.
Okay, we'll give you insulin. Will you have extra sugar?
How do I stop it?
Prevention is better than cure. You're a doctor. I'm also a doctor.
This just blows my
So will
mind.
you tell your
I don't know if
doctor,
you can
"Why
hear
are
it
you saying
still.
I'm a
but
doctor, I will give you injection." So when the patient comes with rabies, no problem. Go to the docs, take more bites,
All
I
right.
will keep on giving you injection. What will the patient tell you? What will the patient tell you? You're a good doctor. Patient will tell you the doctor wants to make money.
All right. Okay. This guy is a true Islamophobe. All right. He lies when he claims killing dogs had to do with rabies. So is he afraid of true Islam? So I think it's time we start calling these people out as Islamophobes. They're not telling the truth about Islam. So they must be afraid of it. Worse, he claims to be a medical doctor and displays ignorance on a vaccine being preventative medicine. This guy calls himself a medical doctor and doesn't know what a vaccine is? How did he ever pass his boards?
Hey, Paul, I tell you what, if you're sitting in the doctor's office and you're waiting for the doctor to come in, and this guy walks in the door and says, "Hello, my name is Zakaria. I'm here to say," run. Even if you have a broken leg, run
Yes.
away.
Absolutely. I, he has less knowledge of Islam than he just displayed some ignorance, or he just think he's. My question, I like what Christian Family Man said. Oh yes, let me see if I can put that up. Yeah, show it. I think I can show that. Yeah, these idiots listen to Soccer Night, but I think the one I wanted was. Oh, I went so fast. Sorry about that. Is he? Oops, I blocked somebody. Unfortunately, I did not do that intentionally. Sorry, Christian Family Man. I didn't intentionally do that. I'm still learning the system. Forgive me. So, this guy is probably the most insane idiot that you can. Why anybody trusts him? Now, here's the truth about him. He's been banned from several countries. Banned. I mean, most people are not banned. So that's something to think about. Let me see now. I just want to read this one. Bilal Phillips. He's in the United States. So he's in the United States and he's in Canada and he's well known. So I looked at this and it says, can we keep a dog for protection in the house? If a dog is kept as a friend or a companion, it's not allowed. So you can't have a dog as a friend. Are you catching that? You take that nice little picture down there on the bottom right with that Islamic Sharia stamp. Yeah, no. So you cannot have a pet. A dog is a pet. All right. So he says, an interesting note is Bilal Phillips is a dog who licks the hand of a Muslim would not break ablution. So wait a minute, is he contradicting Sharia? The hadith that mentions the licking of the vessel is referring to food containers, which would need to be thoroughly cleaned. But having the dog in your house means you're never going to have your prayers answered. So he's not being totally honest. See, that would mean if you went to pray at some point, you would never, ever, ever, ever have your prayers answered as long as the dog was in the house. So he's not being truthful either. Why not? And this one, I think I'm just going to stop this one. Can you hear this? It's more important to read it.
उस वक्त कहते कहते भूल गया था आका मदीना जब तशरीफ ले गए थे और मदीना का जब नाम बदला था एक काम और भी किया था वो
Says one of the actions were taken was to campaign of the dog-free city. Dogs were killed after that. A special order was given to find the dogs, which had either blue or green eyes and which were black in color. The order was to find such a dog and kill it. Still, cats are found in the cities of Mecca and Medina, and dogs are not. Dogs are present in the countryside, but they cannot be found in the city. The Prophet had started a campaign to kill dogs, especially the black dog. This has come to notice through the anecdote, observations, experience of saints in their own experiences. That black dogs are either in the influence of evil and jinn, or they are jinn themselves. He says, I'm saying two things. Either black dogs are in the influence of satanic or in jinn beings, or they are jinn themselves. Wow. So anybody can find this. And, you know, I think he's probably the most forthright, honest one. So let's look at what's happening in Canada. So I caught I have several people out there I used to communicate with on LinkedIn, and the one who runs Blazing Cat for, I used to interact with quite a lot. And I remembered seeing some of her work, and this came from 2012 in Canada. So this is on the Toronto police arresting a guy for walking his dog on Al-Quds Day. All right. He says, I was arrested at the rally for offending Islam by walking in a public park with my dog. Apparently, Muslims don't like dogs. I was warned by a few demonstrators not to go near them. Of course, he ignored them and reminded them, this is Canada, not Pakistan. Well, he was assaulted and he returned the favor in kind. At that point, he says, I was jumped by 4 cops, dragged off and handcuffed, and the police were angry. They said, I was insensitive and inciting a riot by walking a dog. Did he throw the first punch? Did he tell someone to punch him? Do these policemen not know what it means to incite a riot? But they're in Toronto. I mean, yeah. No charges are filed. Keep that in mind. So he left. Imagine this happening in Canada, walking a licensed dog on a leash at a park in front of the provincial legislature and being arrested. That's in Canada, people. How about in the USA? Now, this comes from my last book. It says in the USA, this would be deemed a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. What I'm talking about is they started, before this, I'm talking about people with blind that are blind that have sighted guide dogs. They're being denied access to any vehicle that would be like a taxi. Taxis are refusing. Here in the United States, we have a law called the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, and you know, Muslim drivers, if they refuse, can have their hack licenses taken. Well, taxi drivers are getting less. There's less and less of them. So now we're talking about Uber drivers. Their Uber license isn't going to be taken. Think about that. So they can't threaten their livelihood that way. But Uber or Lyft or whatever organization can fire them. So think about that as we're going into this, okay? In the USA, I said this would have been deemed a violation of ADA. It would have been considered a violation of their civil rights. This incurs several fines, grave enough to remove drivers from working. However, the same issues are happening in the United States, and no one's talking about it. Why? What's the reason? Why are the news sources hiding the names of the religions of those who won't allow a rider with a dog in their cars? In 2007, Ubers, etc., Lyft, whatever, had so many refusals by Muslims to take their dogs and their vehicles that the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport took action. At this point, 75% of the drivers were Muslim, primarily from Somalia. Muslim cabbies were not only refusing to transport dogs, they were refusing to transport alcohol and claim it was against their religious belief. Patrick Hogan, the spokesman for the Metropolitan Airport Commission, said, there are times where cab after cab will refuse service and passengers can be waiting for 20 minutes. Mr. Hogan also said that they were seeing about 77 refusals a month. This problem caused Chuck Samuelson of the American Civil Liberties Union of Minnesota to speak out on this issue. He addressed that this was an issue of people used to living under Sharia when he said, this is a public access issue. Bottom line is, we're a secular society, and that's the way it is. But why are they keeping silent? Why does it take frustration for someone to actually say something or do something? All right, let's look at Europe. Muslims declare jihad on dogs in Europe. Now, Soren Kern, if you don't go to Kate Stone, my suggestion is that you do these days. It's an outstanding place to get good information. Soren Kern, this is from 2012, wrote this. A Dutch Muslim politician has called for a ban on dogs in The Hague, the third largest city in the Netherlands. Islamic legal tradition holds that dogs are unclean animals, and some say the call to ban them in Holland and elsewhere represents attempts to encroach Islamic Sharia law in Europe. Yeah, it is. The latest canine controversy, which the Dutch public has greeted with a mix of amusement and outrage, follows dozens of other Muslim dog-related incidents in Europe. Critics say it reflects the growing assertiveness of Muslims in Europe as they attempt to impose Islamic legal and religious norms on European society. The Dutch dust-up erupted after Hassan Kusik, a Turkish Dutch representative on the Hague's City Council for the Islam Democrats, vehemently opposed a proposal by the Party for the Animals to make the city more dog-friendly. According to the January 28th report, again, this is 2012, the Amsterdam-based newspaper, De Telegraaf, Kusik counter-argued that keeping dogs as pet is tantamount to animal abuse. Animal abuse, huh? All right. This goes on. According to the website, the Islam Democrats, this is where it gets interesting. The party is founded on the Islamic principles of justice, equality, and solidarity. People, that's a bold statement that this is a Muslim Brotherhood entity. Wherever you see justice, equality written in an Islamic organization, and usually you'll see solidarity too, it's always, always, always an affiliated entity of the Muslim Brotherhood. So I'm reading along. Okay, so now we know that the Muslim Brotherhood has their own political party in Holland. Paul ter Linden represented the Dutch Freedom Party in The Hague. City Council responded to Kusik. In this country, pet ownership is legal. Whoever disagrees with this should move to another country. I'm all with you, Paul. Dutch political commentators believe Kusik's declarations are a provocation designed to stir up Muslim population in The Hague. Muslims who now make up more than 12%. This was in 2012, people. They're closer to 20 right now, by the way. They view dogs as ritually unclean animals, and Kusik's call for a ban on them is a sure vote getter. The incident in Holland follows dog-related controversies in other European countries. In Spain, two Islamic groups based in Lleida, a city in the northeast region of Catalonia, where 29,000 Muslims now make up around 20% of the city's total population, asked local officials to regulate the presence of dogs in public spaces so they do not offend Muslims. So Muslims demand that dogs be banned. This is from all forms of public transportation, including all city buses, as well as all areas frequented by Muslim immigrants. Muslims said the presence of dogs in Lleida violates their religious freedom and their right to live according to Islamic principles. Wait a minute. You were seeking to get away from a place that was willing to kill you, because that's how you persecute you. That's your claim to the, quote, refugee status. And now you're insisting that the people that are supposed to be providing you a place to be safe have to accept Sharia. Problematic, severe issues. Something is wrong. Yeah. All right. So this goes on. In Britain, which has become ground zero for Europe's canine controversies, blind passengers are being ordered off buses or refused taxi rides because Muslim drivers or passengers object to their unclean guide dogs. In Reading, for example, one pensioner, a cancer sufferer, was repeatedly confronted by drivers and asked to get off the bus because of guide dogs. He also faced hostility at a hospital and in a supermarket over the animal. In Nottingham, a Muslim driver refused to carry a blind man because which is basically, again, put the blind man into the car, refused to take them because he had a guide dog. The taxi driver was later fined, approximate amount to American dollars, $470. That's not going to hurt him. In Stafford, a Muslim taxi driver refused to carry an elderly blind couple from a grocery store because they were accompanied by their seeing eye dog. In Turnbridge Wells, Kent, a blind man was turned away from an Indian restaurant because the owner said it was against his Muslim beliefs to allow dogs into the establishment. In London, you see how this is going on and on and on? But here's the thing that really got me. This last few sentences. In Britain, police sniffer dogs trained to spot terrorists at train stations may no longer come in contact with Muslim passengers, following complaints that it was offensive to their religion. So dogs that are used to prevent people coming in with bombs may not snuff those that follow Islam. But wait a minute, were the Christians blowing people up? No. Were the Jews blowing people up? No. Were the Hindus blowing people up? Were the Buddhists? No. Was any other religion blowing people up as part of their faith? I think it was only Islam. So why are they prevented? This is the insanity, people. So what does Dar al-Islam say about dogs today? Ka-ching. All right. Russia Today. There's a video on YouTube. You can look this one up. I couldn't show it. There's an actual organization in Pakistan. They are called the Dog Shooting Squad. And the video from Russia Today actually shows them out shooting random dogs. They go over, they scoop the dog up with a shovel and throw it in the back of the truck. And it's repeated for the 1 minute and 32 seconds of this video. But that's okay in Pakistan because, God forbid, that they would be in a house or someplace that would prevent a Muslim from having their prayers heard. Yeah. Let's look at Pakistan. Again, this is... We're going to talk about where this comes from in a second. So, hundreds of stray dogs poisoned. This came from 2016 in Pakistani city of Karachi. Officials have poisoned hundreds of dogs in the southern Pakistani city of Karachi in the latest efforts to curb a population of strays that attack thousands of people each year in the teeming mega city of some 20 million. Wait a minute. You have 20 million people there and hundreds of stray dogs. And they're saying they're biting thousands. That doesn't seem like it follows suit. Something's off with that part of the story. How about this one? March 30th of 2021. A mass culling of strays in Pakistan. 25,000 dogs expect to be killed in the next few weeks. OIPA International writes to the Prime Minister. IPA. A list of countries that brutally and cruelly kill street dogs and cats rather than using ethical methods to keep under control. Strays population is getting longer day after day. The Pakistani government has been recently planning to cull 25,000 stray dogs within the next 60 days. They did do it. The mass killing has started in the of Lorhan, Kehor, Paka, and Dunyapur under the special directive of Commissioner Javed Akhtar Mahmood. Many people across the world might not know it, but this is a method recently introduced in the country. More than 50,000 dogs die every year on the streets of Pakistan by being killed, shot, whatever, poisoned, murdered. Yeah. Yeah. This is hard for me to even get into. I used to work in an animal hospital, people. It's just too sick. Pakistan is a signatory of the world, a signatory member of the World Organization on Animal Health. They should be ensuring that 5 basic freedoms of animals. 1, freedom from hunger, thirst, and malnutrition. Freedom from fear and distress. Freedom from discomfort. Freedom from pain, injury, and disease. Freedom to express normal behavior. And you sit there and you wonder, how is that? Yeah, how are they still accepted? Because it's Islam. They have to allow it. But why? Again, Islam gets exceptions. Because you're a follower of Islam, you're allowed to do whatever, as long if it violates our social norms. I guess that's my big issue. If you're going to violate our social norms, why is that permissible? I can't get that. So why does Islam not like dogs? There it is again. All right, it's right there. Sahih Muslim, book 24, hadith number 5248. And it had to do with Gabriel not showing up because Muhammad had a dog. Oh, so the next day, again, he commanded the killing of the dogs. Then he made an exception for the working dogs. All right. But he had to give that order first. So why does Islam not like dogs? It's because Muhammad feared he wouldn't be able to get a message from Gabriel or from Allah. So the conclusion, if Muhammad fears Scooby-Doo, keeping Allah's messenger away, or all of his followers must now fear dogs. Poor Scooby-Doo. Poor Muhammad, what happens if a dog chases him? Will he ever hear? Okay, so it's not just, believe it or not, it's not just dogs. Let's take a look at this one. This comes from Sahih Bukhari, chapter 8. It says, Allah's narrated Sharik. Allah's messenger ordered that the salamander should be killed and said it blew the fire on Abraham. It sounds like, I was just telling someone today, that sounds like an anime from Japan. I don't know what else to say. It sounds so ridiculous. But again, that's from Sahih Bukhari, book 60, hadith 34. So look out, salamander. Islam is coming for you. How about the geckos? Abu Hurairah reported, again, this comes from Sahih Muslim, 2240C or book 39, hadith 199. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's messenger is saying that he who kills a gecko with a first stroke, there are 70 rewards for him. Oh, I feel sorry for geckos. Islam is coming for you. So the conclusion, if Muhammad fears Scooby-Doo, salamanders, and geckos about keeping Allah's messenger away, all of his followers must fear dogs and salamanders. Sad. So I'm just going to throw this out there for those who are wondering how to support my work. Go to Amazon. I'm putting something down on the bottom to say how to support it. My books are on. I'm just starting to put EPUBs out, and I'm currently working on turning those books into audiobooks. So we'll see. That's part of what I'm trying to do. So thank you for that. Now, I have some great people on the show, and I'm just trying to get my mouse back. I've lost it. So, anybody have any comments about these dogs or animals being killed?
Muhammad's sick.
Can't say it any better.
Yeah, this is. I mean, when we think of animal dogs, specifically dogs, and how dogs are like this cross-cultural link between different cultures, and the attachment of human beings to them extends to virtually every culture in the world. Now, I get it. You know, there are some cultures that still eat them, but even within those cultures themselves, they still keep dogs as pets. They still keep dogs as pets within their homes. And to have some type of prohibition against that because you're afraid that the angels will not enter, they're afraid to enter the house because there's a dog in it. What I mean, it's kind of like voodoo. I mean, if you think honestly about it, a dog will not, or an angel will not come into the house because a dog is in the house. Are dogs more more powerful now than what angels are? Are angels so pathetically shallow that they can't enter into a dwelling where a creation of God exists? All of these questions need to be asked of people who practice these things, who are following the hadith and the Quranic admonitions against keeping a dog in your house itself. I watched a funny guy one evening try to justify this on his show, saying how clean cats are, and it's okay to keep a cat in the house, but dogs are just nasty animals. They don't have fleas like cats don't. Dogs lick certain parts of their body like cats do it
don't.
all the time.
Yes.
Dog dirty mouths like cats. So I'm sitting there watching this imam from Houston, or this individual, try to justify this, all the while calling myself and the Rad. And I don't know if Dr. Kufar Phobia was in it, or Chris was in it on it. We're the swine of the humankind. We're the ones out there rutting in the forest, digging up roots and things of this nature. So this hatred for a creation of God is not a religious thing. It is obviously a cultural thing, or as you put it, somebody who's afraid of Scooby-Doo.
I think I'll give Eric deserves credit for mentioning Scooby-Doo, because it comes down to it. This guy, Muhammad, didn't worship a very strong God, because his messengers are weaker than dogs. and he, I gotta defend the geckos. I do think they're cute. Hide the geckos. Yes, I agree. Hide the geckos. And the tale about salamanders with fire coming out of them. I know that we have talked a little bit about Mecca having been a polytheistic society. Well, that tale would definitely come not from Arabia. Oh no, that tale would probably come multiculturally from Asia. Yeah. Some of these things you just sit there and go, oh my gosh. So why would they do these things? I guess that's the stuff that kills me. I'm going to share my screen one more time here. I've been looking for this one. It took me a while to find it, so just a second. I found this book. I put it into our group. Now, let me see if I can find it. Here we go. And just a second. Here we go. No dogs or cats allowed. Now, this is part of a cartoon book. So this is where I think it's interesting. The price of a dog and the selling of a cat forbidden. Muslim volume 3, hadith number 3803. And I have to move something, sorry. Abu Masud al-Ansari reported that Allah's messenger forbade the charging of price of the dog. Okay, Muslim Volume 3, number 3806. Khadijah reported Allah's messenger as saying the price of a dog is evil. Okay. Abu Zubayr said, I asked Jabir about the price of a dog and a cat, and he said Allah's messenger disapproved of that. Ibn Umar reported Allah's messenger giving command for killing dogs. And then, again, if the dogs and the cats can't be sold, again, it's all on the followers of Muhammad. If you have a God that is so weak that it can't stand up to cats and dogs, I mean, it's no wonder that Muhammad didn't do any miracles. They had to make some up later. I mean, long after he died, they had to make some up and put them in hadiths because they weren't recorded in any Quran. That's for sure. Is there any miracle recorded any place in the Quran? Because I haven't seen
the moon. Muhammad split the moon. Muhammad saw the moon getting split.
Oh, so he
Muhammad
saw
moon to split. Who knows?
Oh no, that's all about the eclipse that he was afraid of. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, he was afraid of the eclipses. He was afraid of the rain. This man lived in fear. Most people don't follow men in fear. I mean, you're past a military man, Eric. Would you follow a military leader who lived in fear?
No, you can smell it. You stay away from guys like that. Those guys are bullet magnets was probably the right term. You're not going to follow somebody that's going to be that's fearful of dogs, of the rain, of that'd be just silly. You do not display fear if you expect to lead. That's kind of like leadership 101 things.
Yeah, that's part of it. Again, if you think I'm lying, start reading the hadiths, people. There is a hadith about Muhammad being scared of clouds, and when he realized it's not going to rain, he's okay. There is a hadith. I mean, they're out there. They're silly. And you know what? The interesting, sad part about it is, if we accept these things as true, it paints Muhammad and his God as very, very small. There's an old Christian song about this group of people who have a small God. They can put them in a box and they can take them out and put them back again. I sit there and I laugh when I think about this God that they call Allah as being, how can it be that they would call this thing big enough to oh my gosh, it's such a small God. I don't understand how anybody can conceive of this, but that's
what I don't get is the hatred for black dogs. That's something that I simply don't understand. Did you discuss? I know you discussed the hatred for dogs, but
yeah, I mentioned the black dog. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it again, it makes no sense. And all I can think of is Muhammad hated black people. He hated anything black. He had a negative take on it. So I don't know. I mean, he called black people, the word he used for black people was slave. That's the Arabic word he uses, is slave. Most people may not know that. I actually, I had Usama Dakdok correct me when I was trying to, find some of this information out, and he put me in that direction. So it has, he even takes that into killing dogs because they're black. And his description of evil has to do with black. Yeah.
Well,
By the way,
this is what a shallow thinker sounds like 1,400 years later.
Well, it's how shallow it is because we happen to know that black labs are some of the most intelligent dogs that exist today. I'm picking on black labs, black German shepherds. I have seen some incredible things that some of them have done.
I showed you this picture when we were talking the other day.
I was going to ask you to show it.
This is a picture of, let me get it up here, of a black lab that I had. She died on my birthday.
Oh, man.
I know. Anyway, She was the sweetest dog that you could ever want, the most obedient dog that you could ever want, the most protective dog that you could ever want, the most loving dog that you could ever want. And she was as black as the day is long, as far as, when you talk about how a dog, the coloration of it was. And to think that there was an ounce of evil or anything wrong with that dog, it's just stupid. And when I say stupid, I mean that with the not with the D on the end, with the T on it. Stupid. It is dumb. And this is what you would get from somebody that lives out in the middle of the desert, has no contact with anyone. And this is what people like that would say. And people are like, oh, well, we got to believe it. And then they're going to kill, black dogs for the rest of their lives, or be afraid of black dogs for the rest of their lives. It's just dumb.
Well, the whole black thing goes back to Islam says that Satan is black.
Yeah,
Because there's a hadith that says if you want to know what Satan looks like, he points to the black guy. And I think also there's a hadith where it says when Allah rubbed his hand between the shoulders of Adam, on one side there's the descendants that are going to go to heaven and they're white, and then on the other shoulder you get the blacks and they're going to hell. So I
think he's an incredible racist, and that's the only thing I can say about that. I mean, I'm going to tell you what I got from Islamic Dakdak. This is in my my last book. It says, let's look at Arabic language. And I'm deferring to my colleague, Usama Dakdak, who has a ministry to Muslims and hosts a weekly show. And he's actually doing a lot more than that. So Usama Dakdak's knowledge of Arabic is extensive. He was born in Egypt and raised with Arabic as his native tongue. Usama states there are two words for black in Arabic. Aswad means the color black, and abd, which means slave. Now, we don't have Isa here or anyone else that reads Arabic, but I'd be interested.
Isa was in the chat. I think I saw him.
I thought I saw him. If he was, yeah. I'd love to know that if we could pull up that Arabic and if he could tell if it says abd, because that would be quite telling if all of his references to all the references to the black dog are referring to it as a slave dog. And there may be some connection there. But again, this man was such a racist. It's definitely there. I'll cover it another day. But it's definitely, we're talking about the mindset of someone in a desert and doesn't have worldly experience beyond the desert. He doesn't really know of anything existing outside of the desert. When you live in your small world and the only thing you know is raiding, or the only thing you know is killing for survival, or before that even committing treason. This is the man many people follow, and they want to follow him in every way. This is the part I think that scares me the most. People don't get this, but their belief is that Muhammad must be followed in every way. Yahya, who was on Eric's show the other day, had a problem with hadiths. And this is my problem with Meccan Muslims as well, they don't want to accept, they won't accept anything. The Meccan Muslims won't accept anything that happened before Muhammad left Mecca. After Muhammad left Mecca, they're done with it. As soon as he becomes a political leader, they throw him out. But Muhammad was evil before that. He talked about killing people. Anybody opposed him, he had no problem with that. That's when he was in Mecca. So this man was not peaceful. There's a
42.
lot of stuff on him.
He had 42 people killed.
Yeah.
Just that is recorded, that we know, according to literature.
42. This is not a peaceful man. And these are mostly poets. They are mostly people who, anybody who would say something negative about him. If you said something negative, and this is why you'll hear when people like me or Eric or anyone else gets out there and starts talking about this, you always get asked, "Have you been threatened?" And I said, my God's a little bit bigger than theirs. My God gave me armor for my front, and He's got my back. So I'm not worrying. And I have a lot of friends who are also great Second Amendment people, and they're not worried either because God help that person if they're not prepared to receive anything back. So, yeah, Islam can't allow people to tell the truth, and so we got to start calling them Islamophobes. I think that's the message. I think I'm going to create a site on Islamophobia and calling out those people like we just did today, who won't tell you the whole truth. We're going to call them Islamophobes because they're hiding the true Islam. So who's afraid of Islam? Their scholars are Zakir Naik, who can't even tell you what preventative medicine is. This guy is. I don't know if he actually has a medical. I don't think he has.
He is a medical doctor. He is a licensed medical doctor. Now, where that might be, I don't know if it's in. I don't know if it's in Indonesia, India, where he's from, or where he got it. But he does have a medical doctorate. But that doesn't make him an expert on anything other than medical practice. And even then, some of the things that the man has said leads one to believe that he doesn't even have a firm grasp of that. And when you're perfectly illustrating that this evening, by showing him, he's talking about, well, you don't want to jump out the second story window, you break your leg. What was, I don't even remember what the other one was.
He called it preventative medicine. Prevention is better. And then he's insulting vaccines. Yeah. Like he doesn't know a vaccine is preventative medicine. So his whole justification for everything he said just goes out the window. It's like,
I know. And with the say
crapper.
That a dog, it was like the dog will give you rabies. You have more, I don't know what it is like in India, and I don't know what it's like in Indonesia, because he can't go back to India because he's wanted for tax evasion and terrorism charges. But I don't know how the rabies rate is in India or in Indonesia is, just off the top of my head. But I mean, if you're going to try to say that, you don't keep a dog in the house because the dog might have rabies, that's just stupid. That really is just a stupid response. I mean, you have you have a exponentially higher likelihood of breaking your leg from jumping out of a second story window or wherever the heck you're going to break your leg than you do from contracting rabies from a dog. It's just this. And again, like I said, if this guy ever came into your room and says, he's going to, I'm here to take a look at you, just get up and run. Knock him over if you have to. Get out of that room and don't let him lay a finger on you.
Mr. I don't know what a vaccine is. I would like to perform a medical procedure on you. Oh, wow. I think if any medical professional in Indonesia watches that, they should just pull his license if it hasn't been pulled already. But my bet is he can't practice any medicine because he's in a new country, and generally they have to.
And thankfully, it may be that may be true. And he doesn't practice medicine. I'm fairly certain he doesn't practice medicine. I can't say for sure that he doesn't, but he spends more time going around talking, and he's this superhero because he's taken everything that Ahmed Deedat said that was false, and he's plagiarized it and he's made it his own. And the guy has a really good he does a really good talent for memorizing Bible verses, rattling off 5 or 6 of them in a row to demonstrate whatever point that he wants to do. And this is why he's widely popular. But the fact is that he's Nabil Qureshi. Do you know who Nabil Qureshi is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nabil Qureshi did a really good YouTube video on him one afternoon. It was like 34 errors of Zakir Naik in 2 minutes. And what he does is he takes Zakir Naik talking about, he was talking about evolutionary theory and the applicability of it and how in the Galapagos Islands and things of this nature. and it was just classic at how many errors that Zakir had made in just 2 minutes. He made, it was like it literally was 30 factual errors of science. Whether it was just, he didn't know it wasn't the
Again,
Gatineau Island.
this is a medical doctor.
Yes, I'm a medical doctor, and I'm going to come here to work on you. And it wasn't because he, it was lost in translation or whatever. He just did not know certain scientific, which are considered hard scientific facts.
Well,
What was
and
that?
that's he is. I'm not disagreeing.
Hey, if you ever go see a doctor, ask the doctor if they believe in the Quranic embryology. If they say yes, run, because Zach and Ike believes that crap. Okay, I would love to have a debate with the doctor, and we can go over the embryological process to see which
That'd
one
be
knows
scary.
embryology.
That is actually
Zach-
one of my one of my next things I want to put out in a book, more of a pamphlet, would be on Islamization of knowledge and its take on medicine. Because when you start to get into this field, I've read maybe 25 to 30. Here I'm putting this in quote, with my fingers up for quotes. Scholarly academic articles from Islamic people who consider them self scholars. And when you read this, you realize they're lying. And they're lying as they teach medicine. Here I'm saying they're lying as they teach medicine. So do you want someone who's been lied to in a profession that's going to do with the care of you? And this is where I started looking at this. So one of the things we always laugh at is Muhammad's love of camel piss. The cure all. What got me actually started in this is during Corona, when it started, about March or April, you started to see all these commercials for camel piss coming out of Arabic countries. I'll have to put. They're just so hilarious. You can go to YouTube and type in camel piss cure all. And you'll find some. I don't have a doubt in my mind that you could do that right now. Camel piss cure for COVID. I think I caught about 10 back then, but it just would make. Why are we this is what it comes down to. The reason why I want to do this is because the concept of Islamization of knowledge, for those of you unaware of this topic, Islamization of knowledge is actually a graduate level topic. Started here in the United States and in the UK by one of the first Muslim Brotherhood members here. So, I want you to think about that. So we have a guy who has no problem with Al-Qaeda. He has no problem with Hamas. He has no problem with all those things. He started this topic, and it's now a graduate level discussion all over the world. Islamization of knowledge. So basically they believe anything that has not been learned through Islam has to go through the rose-colored glasses of Islam in order to be accepted by Islam. So unless they approve it, it's not acceptable. So that means literature, that means just about anything. And that's extremely dangerous when you start to think about what does that mean. I mean,
I actually found a book. It's called Islamization of Knowledge. It's a series.
Yes, there are
series.
series.
Number 1, 106 pages. I posted it on Skype. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, I actually own 3 on the topic. And there are a series here in the United States. One of the guys, Dr. Muhammad Shafiq, who has written some on it. I don't know if you've seen Dr. Muhammad Shafiq stuff. He's republishing his Islamic professors who had the doctorate, and he's sharing out who he is by telling who his Islamic professor is or doctoral advisor is. So scary. It gets kind of scary. But again, the issue here is that why are we trusting? This society that I grew up in. There was great importance in what Reagan said: trust but verify. Academically, it used to be not even thought about. It would just be something you'd normally do. But academically, we're not having that anymore. And I tell you, if you go and you pick up, as you just said, you go and you can find anything, these things on Islamization of knowledge. There are severe academic issues with these books, severe, to the point where if this was done in any other topic, if it was looked at by any other academic professional, they would look at this and say, oh my gosh, this has severe logic problems. This has severe continuity. There's severe issues with this whole thought process. So I keep saying that, this is my big issue. I do have a couple other stories that I want to get to today. I think some people are just going to have a good laugh. One of them is about the Islamophobic hate crime in Virginia turning out to be a fake. I don't know if you've seen this. This was out a couple days ago on Jihad Watch. I'm just going to share this out. I want to get some of these out because I don't think people hear these stories, and they're, so I'll admit, some of them are just as humorous as you just can't accept how humorous they are. It just kind of mind numbing how humorous they can be. All right, let me see if I can get to that window. This is the joy of trying to find out where I'm going. And it's not there. It's not there. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to have to read it. Sorry about that. Okay. This comes again from Robert Spencer's Jihad Watch. And this is another issue I have, and reason why I want to do something on Islamophobia. Let people, when they want to go look for Islamophobia, I want them to find the truth. Because when you go to sites that actually talk about Islamophobia, they don't share the truth. They actually lie through their teeth. So Robert Spencer wrote an article. It's actually in PJ Media. Came out the 20th. It starts out, want power and influence? The quickest path the quickest path to both in today's absurd society is to be a victim, and hate crimes are the currency of victimhood. In such an environment, it is not surprising that many hate crimes would be faked, despite the fact that this is a recurring phenomenon. Oh, yeah. Anybody named Jesse Smollett? Anybody heard that name? Oh, boy. So, every hate crime is taken at face value in the established media and blasted far and wide when many are found to be fake. Then that lie has once again gone twice around the world before the truth has finished and put on its shoes. All this is displayed out yet again. According to WJLA in Northern Virginia, a Muslim girl who's a sophomore at Fairfax High School claimed that last Tuesday she was the victim of Islamophobic attack. She and a purported eyewitness claimed that several students made offensive drawings referencing Muslims, Jews, and George Floyd. When they confronted these hate-filled, no doubt, MAGA hat-wearing white male offenders, the crude louts made offensive comments, and one got very close to the Muslim girl. According to that girl, mayhem ensued. My backpack bumped into him, and then he got mad, and he pushed me, and he grabbed my hijab. So I punched him in the stomach because he wouldn't let go. And he threw me across the room, and I hit my whole left side on the chair and desk. She claims that she actually wound up on the floor and had difficulty breathing. By her own account, the Muslim girl has been thoroughly traumatized. Quote, I haven't been able to eat, keep food down, cause of stress, and how disgusted I am that I had to go through that at my school where I should feel safe. She said, however, that she was fighting for justice for every girl who wears the hijab. It's for every hijabi out there. Every girl, every Muslim person, every Muslim guy. Wait, excuse me? Muslim guy wearing a hijab? It's not. It's a daily thing that we go through. People are trying to cover it up and make it look like an accident. make it look like an accident. Maybe that was a tell. Fairfax High School students were having none of this attempted cover-up. After all, they have been taught all their lives ever since 9/11, Muslims have been particular victims of discrimination, harassment, and hate crimes, and that only bigots and white supremacists would fail to stand in solidarity with them. And so they eagerly fell in line. Around 350 Fairfax High School students protested outside the school, saying that they were angry, just not over Islamophobic attack, but the school's response to it. Let's talk about that. That was because the Muslim girl who said she was attacked claimed that both she and the male student who allegedly pulled off her hijab were given a one-day in-school suspension and forced to serve them on Wednesday in the same room, where the attacker and his victim why were the attacker and his victim given the same punishment? Fairfax school officials wouldn't say. And Ibrahim Hooper of the Hamas-linked CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, always ready to jump on any claims of Islamophobic hate crime, fumed. It is the responsibility of administrators and educators to ensure that safety of all students and be allowing the suspected assailant to return to school where he reportedly threatened more students. They failed in that duty. Okay, so they got 27,000 signatures. Let's keep going.
Can I ask a question, Paul? Paul,
yeah.
can I ask a question? The girl got ISS also in service school suspension.
That's what it's. That's the funny thing. Yeah, she got ISS. We call it ISS. Educators would call this in-school suspension. ISS.
Right. ISS. Okay, so you know what we call that here? We call that a clue. If she got ISS and this boy got ISS, there's something more to the story. Because you just don't arbitrarily give somebody that's a victim in-service school suspension.
And she said, it's not only a clue. It tells you that there's the big clue is that there's more to the story. First of all, because that event described, if it was a hate crime, there would be a mandatory suspension, and it would be out of school suspension.
Oh,
so
that's not
that's
that's like an expulsion.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
I don't know about the school district, but where I taught that would have been an expulsion. Sure.
Yeah, these are mandatory things. So I mean, this information, so it tells you right away. CARE's supposed to have lawyers, by the way. Well, I wouldn't trust that they actually have a license, but CARE's supposed to have lawyers, so they should be informed on this. But okay, us educators, we're giving you the inside scoop. Thank you. So let me get back into this, and you're going to have a good laugh. This goes on. It says it was a marvelous orgy of victimhood for everyone, but then the Fairfax Police Department brought it all to a screeching halt. WTOP reported Saturday that a City of Fairfax Police Department investigation has determined that a physical altercation at Fairfax High School on Tuesday was not a hate crime. The investigation revealed there was no racial comments made by either student. According to the police, the female student confirmed her hijab became partially undone during the altercation, exposing her hair. She also told police that the information posted on several social media sites stating that the racial comments were used during the altercation were false. Don't be surprised in reality, because most of the celebrated claims, okay, did you catch this? During her hijab became partially undone, so she had to make up this lie. That's what it was. She had to make up this lie so she wouldn't get beat when she came home. Because if her father heard that this had happened, she would have been beat. And that's the horrible truth of the matter. I mean,
yeah, when you see things like when they start working their way out, and I mean, even the administrators recognize this. And what the sad part is that CARE is not going to be held to account for spreading this lie. They're always the first one to jump on any supposed possible potential hate crime against Muslims, and nobody holds them to any account. And these guys are on TV all the time making these fallacious claims against people. And what people actually need to start doing is they need to start developing some type of data bank, that when they are falsely accused, like this other student that she got, the hijab wearing girl got in an altercation with, to be charged with a hate crime is one of the most heinous things that you could have for impinging upon your character. And to have that investigated by the police and having a false charge made against you, that girl should be doing two things. Number one, pressing charges against this little Muslima girl for doing that, for saying that it was racially motivated.
I think she should not only, she should be facing criminal charges for the technical term is filing a false instrument, because she's actually made allegations of a hate crime. My question is, did she it sounds like she didn't fill out police paperwork that said this, only she made these claims. And then it gets better. In the statement given by Mr. Robert Spencer, he has a quote from her, and she's claiming that this happened, but the police are saying it didn't. So, did she never file hate crime charges, or did CARE file the hate crime charge? Because there was, it indicates that CARE got involved, so they might have been behind filing charges.
CARE needs to be held accountable, taken to court in a civil suit for slander. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
And the more times that happens, the more times that they will be less likely to run off to the hundreds. I mean, literally hundreds of examples of where they have made fallacious statements about hate crimes against Muslims in this country. And I'm not saying that there aren't hate crimes against Muslims in this country. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that it's just like this Jussie Smollett thing. When you have to invent some type of racial hate crime from the MAGA wearing, right wing, whatever, then you know that your position, this constant charge of racism, is as pathetically weak as the day is long. And the same thing is true with this Islamic charge, that there's this systemic visceral hatred towards Muslims in this country, and it's being taken out and applied in day-to-day society. It just simply is not. All of these, the overwhelming majority of these reports are proven to be false, are proven to be bogus, and CARE needs to be held account to this. And I don't know I'm not a lawyer, and as a matter of fact, we're putting
it is slander. It is slander. It is slander. There's no question about it. And I think would be one of these things in the future where if we end up with an organization that has cash extra to flow, maybe we'll be contacting those people who are falsely accused of Islamophobia and advising them to sue, and maybe offering a lawyer if we have that kind of money.
Well, we have one. Well, let's just put it this way: we have something in the works because of. Anyway, it's in the works right now, as we speak.
So here's another article. A friend of mine from Canada shared. You can find it. Go to ericbrazau.com, ericbrazau.com. And I found this fascinating. It states, evil of Christians and Christmas contextualized by Canadian imams. In December 2021, Canadian imam Yunus Kathrada gave a sermon to the Muslim youth of Vancouver, BC. This youth group is very active, and as can be attested by its Facebook page. Imam Yunus Kathrada is working hard to ensure that future generations of Muslims in Canada will live up to the values of Islam as practiced by the companions of the Prophet and that of the Rashidim, the first four rightly guided caliphs, who quickly conquered vast Christian territories, greatly expanding the influence of domination of Islam. Below is a partial transcript, so let me just read you some of the stuff this man said. And if you want to go find it, you can go to memory.org, and it's right there. It's bad. One of the things he said, yes, it's Christmas season. So many people ask, why should I not congratulate people on this occasion? You know what? I'm going to see if I can share this, because this is just, I saw. I have to say, I was highly, highly offended. I would be highly offended if he equates. He's got to figure out how to share this one. It's the joy of still learning. I'm still learning how to do things, unfortunately, with StreamYard. All right, so here we go. Share screen. I'm just going to go here. All right, so I know which one to pull up. Can you see this? And I think I have to go back. Hold on a second. I did something wrong. I know what it is. I didn't push that nice button. You have to push that sound button because this will blow your mind what he says. I'm like I say, I'm highly offended, but I would think he would be too. All right, everybody can see this? All right, we're gonna give this a shot.
Make full screen, Paul.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
Christmas season. And so many people ask, why should I not congratulate the people on this occasion? There is no such thing as, an innocent congratulation. No. Would you congratulate a fornicator? Would you congratulate a murderer? Obviously not. Would you congratulate a pedophile?
Is he talking about his prophet?
Obviously not. So how then can you congratulate people for insulting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Where is your love for your creator? Will you approve of people insulting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It is a major sin and it is disbelief. Allahumma a'izz al-Islam wal-Muslimin wa adhill al-kafarata wal-mushrikeen wa dammir a'da' ad-din wa ahlik az-zanadiqa wal-mulhidin. Allahumma ansur al-mujahideen fi sabilika fi kulli makan.
Did you catch that? He talked about waging jihad against Christians shortly thereafter. So don't, again, he equated saying Merry Christmas with congratulating a murderer. And he talked about a pedophile. Was he talking about his own prophet? So maybe, I mean, maybe he's got pedophile on the mind, and well, I guess if he wants, to
Paul, there was another story on Bare Naked Islam this morning where the former imam for the John F. Kennedy Airport religious center that's there at the airport, I guess, the former imam, I guess he was some popular guy. He just got nailed for trying to pick up and meet some 14-year-old girl. Some guys.
You're right. I see that right now.
Did you see it? It was, and it's classic. This guy's like, "Leave me the F alone. I'm not doing anything wrong, dude. Why are you on this side of the city? This isn't even your home. You don't even live here." And he's sitting there having the guy that's filming it calling his phone. He goes, "Why don't you answer your phone? It's the girl. Why don't you pick it up?" And this is what we were talking about Sunday does to people. It just or Tuesday. It warps your mind. If your prophet did it, well, then it makes it perfectly permissible. So what are you doing, Imam? You're out there doing it yourself. You sick.
Let me just read part of this article again. Bare Naked Islam. Wow, I didn't catch this one again. They have pedophile on the mind, maybe because they want to, I have been told over and over again in Islamic scriptures that they must copy Muhammad in every way because he was the perfect man. So anybody who follows Islam, you don't want them living next to you when you have young girls.
It's Sunnah.
And
that's what he's doing. He's just following the Sunnah. Muhammad is always
so. Let me start this article. It says, according to FM, the channel's creator, Yusa Turek, sexted who he thought was a 14-year-old girl through the dating app Whisper. Yusa Turek used a different picture and name. FM said, and after learning the age of the fictional girl, displayed interest of wanting to be her father, writing incestual texts and describing various acts he wanted to partake with her. He'd write, quote, "I'm your long-lost dad," one text wrote, according to Yusuf Turk's criminal complaint. "Call me daddy while I bleep, 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 bleep you." This man's married and has children.
Who thinks of that type of? I mean,
Ugh.
call me daddy.
Yeah. It's
Sick.
It's too. It goes. It's much more disgusting. I can't even continue. But when your prophet marries a 6-year-old and beds her at 9, and you have to copy him in every way. I mean, I follow Jesus, and I'd love to copy him in every way. But you know what's cool? I don't have to copy how he went to the toilet. I don't have to copy, how he ate. I don't have to copy how he drank. I don't have to wear the same kind of clothes. I don't have to shave my beard the same way. Our faith has more meaning than rules and regulations. It's about what's in your heart, not what's in your dirty mind. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That man is this
Well, I'm
Prophet
sitting there
Muhammad.
watching. I'm
Ugh.
watching this guy, and the only thing I think he's like 40 years old or so. He's got a wife, he has children, and yet he's still participating in this type of behavior. So, what motivates a man to do something like that? What motivates a man? What type of? And this is what we were discussing on Tuesday. You have to have some type of disconnect psychologically in order to be excited over little girls, especially when you're that much. Not especially. Let me re-say that. At any time when you are a grown man and you have those type of feelings for a girl that age, there's something wrong with you. And this guy is parading himself as being this pillar of Islam in New York City. He's a highly respected imam, evidently. I don't know. And it's akin to the Jimmy Swaggart episode or the Jim Baker thing, where they're stepping out on their wives, but yet they were doing it with adult women in that case. But forget that little detail. And I'm watching this guy he's not being chased, but the guy that does this, I guess he has his own like YouTube channel, and he does this quite a bit. He sets, people will call, he'll put up like an ad out there.
I guess that's called catfishing. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology, but
I don't know. I don't know what it's called because I don't worry about it. Whatever. I don't worry about it myself personally, but I'm thinking that they put out this ad for this guy, and he took the bait and he kept going back and it said it was over a month that he was communicating with who he thought was a 14-year-old little girl. And this is what this is what this does to your mind. It takes your mind and completely perverts it into thinking that this is okay, that it is okay to go out and do this to little girls. This is what they think of girls. This gives you an insight to what this ideology teaches men to think about girls, little girls at that age. And my question would be is, where are you dads? You know what I'm saying? If you're a dad and that is happening to your little girl, are you going to not want to do something about it? Are you not going to want to protect, especially from scumbags like that? And if that does happen, why don't you publicly go out and out these imams? And this isn't just in the United States, this is across the globe. We've seen, we read these sites, we read Jihad Watch, we read Bare Naked Islam, we see these. It's almost like on a daily basis you see this type of garbage.
Yeah, out of Pakistan, it's daily. In fact, and out of India and several other countries, I mean, you can almost daily read their newspapers. I mean, I'll sometimes go and it's almost every day in the newspaper. And here's the thing that happens. I should say news sources. A usual story you'll find, and I wish to God I was not using that word, usual. It's a daily occurrence where you'll have a Christian girl on her way to school, or she's doing something. She gets kidnapped by Muslims at a young age. She might be 10, and they force her to say the Shahada. She says it. They now declare that she is a Muslim, and now they marry her off, and then they immediately have sex with her. And this girl is now forcibly married and violated. And this is in almost. I wish I was not saying that it's an everyday occurrence, but
some days I wish I was more interested in watching Major League Baseball or keeping up with football stats.
Yeah,
it'd be much more pleasurable, learning about the drug habits of our NFL players and NBA players and the thuggery that goes along there than paying attention to this. I really wish that my interests were there, because then it wouldn't be it's disgusting watching these millionaire guys do the things that they do, but it's nothing compared to the ideology that motivates people to do this to little girls. And like you said, it's done almost on a daily basis. And this is why, if you don't say this, I try to say it as often as I can on my live stream, is to support organizations like Voice of the Martyrs. That organization is intimately involved in helping persecuted Christians across the globe: Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, North Korea, China. They're all over all over that region of the world where Christians are persecuted on a daily basis. 12 Christians a day, on average, lose their lives because of their faith, because of Islam. We're not talking about the communist repression that you see in North Korea. We're talking about Islamic persecution of Christians every single day. Kill 12 of them. That doesn't talk about the ones that are married off into these force. Yes, exactly, Darcy. They are an incredible organization. That doesn't talk about the ones that are forcibly married, the ones that have their churches burned down, their villages burned down, their jobs taken away, they're thrown out of school, denied whatever type of rights and privileges that you would expect universally. These people are persecuted for believing in Jesus Christ.
And these are the countries where Islam is prevalent. Now, I saw this comment by a Christian family man. Yet I can't rest knowing that we continue to allow this, quote, culture to be permitted in our free nations. That is the whole purpose of my last book. I address this from an academic side. So if you do read it, you will see that I'm scared. I'm scared because, I like your term here, permitted, allowed. And that's what if you read the beginning of the book, it pretty much tells you that this is the purpose of these hijras into other countries. Today, this morning, I got a notice that Spain had 500 Muslims arrive in Spain over a 48-hour period. They specifically said Muslims, and I found that interesting. But
was it Spain or Italy?
It was Spain.
Was it Spain?
Italy
Okay.
Italy has had similar amounts. England, it's been
I saw
higher.
that there's also they killed a guy driving a semi in France. He was going to drive. I think he was going to go
last week. I think.
Was it? Okay. Well, and they killed this guy because these guys are swarming these semis going across the channel. There's a way to drive under the channel. There's a way to drive. Am I correct on that?
I've never been in there.
Okay,
I
well,
think you have to follow certain rules, and you have to follow certain. It's just like probably following
right,
it.
but what they're doing is
25
they're
or 30,
driving. These guys are swarming these semis because they're coming in and they have to go through checkpoints and stuff, opening up the back ends, jumping in the back end and closing it. Well, evidently this guy didn't want to let them in, or they tried to get in the cab or something, and they were in the process of beating him unconscious, and he had a heart attack and died. This happens every day over. It's just a battle going on every single day, and we just don't see it here.
Yeah. This is the original reason why they cleaned out a camp where the channel was located, and it disappeared. Now in France, they're constantly doing this. I saw this happen when I was in France in 2016. What they did when I was there was a huge migrant camp. Again, they don't refer to this as Islamic camp. They don't refer to them as they don't refer to them as refugees. Why? What they'll refer to them as economic migrants. They came for their own benefit, not for anybody else. They didn't come to share anything good. They came for their own financial benefit. So what they did in the middle of the night, I don't remember what streets this was, but the day before, Daniel Pipes had gone and checked this whole this area out, and he wanted to show us this place. So we all got on the van, and we went, and he was about to point this out. It's like, everything's gone. And he's pointing it out. And actually the places where he was trying to show us had fenced areas, so they couldn't get back in. So it was just kind of shocking. So you go down the road a good ways, and then you see the tents and the mattresses, and there's a place where they're actually feeding people. And, as I looked, I had always heard there's no females. Well, you know what? The people I saw, there wasn't one female, not one. There wasn't one child, and not one when I was there. This is what I personally saw and witnessed. I did videotape this. Now, I did see small girls coming in by plane into Berlin. They, at the oldest, maybe 10 or 11. And, they each were given a red rose when they landed in the plane. They were given red roses, and they were being escorted out by a Muslima. And I talked to people who are experts on Islamic symbology, and they told me that was representative, that they would be married that night, that they would be bedded that night. And these were children. I mean,
how old were
again,
they? You say how old? What?
Maybe at the oldest 11. I mean,
and this is in Berlin?
Yes. Yeah, they got off the plane about the same time we did, and we were seeing this. And when you don't, this is one of those things where see something, say something is all important. My question is, where was the German police? Where were the concerned parents? And this is the truth of the matter here. The concerned parents they got paid for their child. The concerned parents got paid, so they're happy. The people they're sending them to will have Islamic babies, and they don't think of their women folk, their daughters, as great blessings. They think of them as burdens.
Hey, Paul, I don't mean to brag anymore on my intro to my show. I'm going to, but Connie and I have been colluding all day. Actually, she's been colluding all day about updating it. And one of the things that I wanted to put in there was the plight of these girls being married off at such young ages. And so, of course, you're going to look for video clips. And I found one in CNN, and it's from Afghanistan, of a little girl, 9 years old, is sold off to a 65-year-old scumbag, married to him, and he hauls her off. And that's now in the intro, because I want people to be constantly and consistently reminded of what happens. This isn't something that happened in 1924 or 1970 or what. This is happening today. This is 2021 that this is happening. And it's sick. It needs to be exposed, and the ideology that surrounds it needs to be constantly spoken of. And we do that a lot. You know that we do that a lot. You do the lot of it here on your show, but we do it over on the Cross and the Crescent all the time. It's almost like it's like a it happens every single show where it's brought up just to remind people of who Muhammad was. It's not meant to destroy people's faith in Islam, but it is to remind people who this guy was. When you start singing his praises and how he was this perfect man to follow, whose example you're to follow your entire life, and he's 54 years old, and she's 9 years old, she's prepubescent, and he's doing this to this little girl. This video that I put that Connie did it. She does all the work. That she put into the intro is going to illuminate that twice a week now on the show. I want to make sure people see it firsthand.
Yeah, it's his word. That intro is powerful. Oh my God. Yeah. So I've got a few more here. This is I shared this out in the Skype group earlier. CARE Executive Director Zara Billow steps aside following revelation of, guess what, people? It's a woman. So, anti-Semitic speech. Zara Billow, the San Francisco Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations, announced this week she was going on a sabbatical from her position. The decision was made following the backlash. Oh, well, okay. This is an honestreporting.com. Great site. If you ever get a chance, please go to it. They could, it's definitely, send them some kudos. Zara Billow, again, on a sabbatical. The decision was made following the backlash provoked by her comments at the 14th annual Convention for Palestine in the United States. At the conference organized by American Muslims for Palestine, used to be called IAP, but American Muslims for Palestine, Billow blamed Zionists for Islamophobia and police violence in the U.S. during her speech, which was discovered and publicized by the Israeli Cool Advocacy Group. Billow clearly defined who these Zionists are. She said, quote, "We need to pay attention to the Jewish Federation. We need to pay attention to the Zionist synagogues. We need to pay attention to the Hillel chapters on campus. Make no mistake about it. They would sell you down the line if they could, and they often do behind your backs." Now, a few years earlier, when Billow was voted off the board for the Women's March for anti-Semitic tweets, she likewise responded by labeling anyone who opposed her as Islamophobic. Now, I don't know if you are aware, but there is a site that Georgetown University pays for. It's called the Bridges Initiative, and it considers CARE an all good organization, and it trusts them implicitly. But CARE has been recognized by the federal government as being, ready for this one? Hamas in America. The federal government recognizes this, and yet we've been talking about CARE for a while. CARE was recognized as not having to was not allowed by any federal organization to have any interaction with it. But even the FBI couldn't follow their own rules on that. That's just so that gets me to my next story, talking about CARE. You got to hear this one before.
Can I give my description of CARE for everybody?
Yeah.
Because this is, I told you I was going to copyright this. It is CARE is a farrowing house of anti-Semitic pigs. Now, if you don't know what farrowing is, it's a farming term of breeding sows. You have farrowing houses where these sows go in and have their little pigs. So that's what CARE is. It's a farrowing house of anti-Semitic pigs.
I got to even get Dr. Kirby into our group. He wrote a piece for Jihad Watch this couple days ago. CARE, love for Jesus unites Christians and Muslims at Christmas time. On December 15th, 2021, the CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, released an op-ed titled "Love for Jesus Can Bring Christians and Muslims Together." That's not what Eunice Kathradas just said, is it? This op-ed was written by Ibrahim Hooper, CARE's current National Communications Director, and for a number of years it has been released annually before Christmas. Hooper wrote, as forces of hate in this country and worldwide to pull Muslims and Christians apart, we are in desperate need of a unifying force that can bridge the widening gap of interfaith misunderstanding and mistrust. Should you trust someone who's sworn to lie to you? I mean, I definitely won't. It says that force could be a message of love, peace, and forgiveness taught by Jesus and accepted by followers of both faiths. So they're going to accept Jesus now because they don't have the same Jesus. Spiritual unity in the Quran. After writing the above statement about a desperately needing unifying force, Hooper mentioned the Quran 2:136. Christians and Muslims would do well to consider another verse in the Quran, reaffirming God's eternal message of spiritual unity. Say we believe in God and the revelation given to us and to Abraham, Ismail, Isaac, Jacob, and tribes, and that given to Moses and Jesus, and that given to all prophets from their Lord. We make no distinction between any of them, and it is so unto him that we surrender ourselves. But Quran 2:136 does not reaffirm God's eternal message of spiritual unity between Christians and Muslims. In the first place, the ye to whom this verse is directed are the Muslims. In the second place, even though Hooper used the word God in this Quran verse, the verse actually refers to Allah, the God of Islam. And we're smoking a small G, guys. The God that's so small that his angels can't handle being around dogs. They're too scared. and Allah's revelation, the Quran, and in both of which Muslims must believe. Yeah, Surah 9, people. One of the last surahs talks about killing us. And because they have a belief in abrogation, that anything given before can be negated by Allah. And that's what it comes down to, negated. It no longer is good. It no longer has any value. So if we actually look at the Quran and we go to what it actually says is negated, there isn't going to be much left, people. I mean, we could just start. They have a problem when you start to tear up a Quran. Well, you know what could be funny? Here's what I say. Let's find a Quran and cut out everything it says is abrogated. And show them that cut up Quran. Well, this says everything here is abrogated, so why is it in your Quran? If you say it's abrogated, why are you reading it anymore? Yeah. So that's, I think, what we probably should be doing. Give them the
problem with that. The problem with that, Paul, is that chapter 9 is the most violent chapter in the Quran, and it is the last chapter given by Muhammad. So all of that violence that is sanctioned in chapter 9 abrogates all of those peaceful little nillies that they like to cling to that came before it.
Well, I thought it was interesting. I think it was one of the shows. I don't know if it was yours the other day, but I heard somebody referencing Christianity as abrogating something. And I was like, we don't have that term. We don't use that. In fact, I only learned that term because I was learning about Islam. I still think it's silly to follow a God who's not the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I mean, their God has to change with smoke. You have to wonder. Wow. So something happened. I think Facebook just blocked the show for some reason, calling it hate speech.
What? I posted this. I
posted about 50 places too.
Yeah, I put it in about 50 groups after it started. So I haven't well, let me look. Maybe.
Well, this will be blocked on. I think it's blocked on my personal page. I don't think it's. I'll have to go back and look and see if that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't see. Well, whoop. Let's see. Your post was removed from Christian Islam discussion. Okay, so it was removed by one. Approved by that one. So that's accepted. So there's several of them that were accepted into the groups, but one, I'm going to have to go leave that group.
I'm laughing because I saw this. If you haven't seen it, Christian Family Man, guys, please. The correct pronunciation of the word is abro goated.
Never could. Yeah.
I love it.
The animal.
Poor goats. I feel sorry for them over there. I want to say thank you, everybody. It's been great having you. I don't want to take this too long. I think we have to start considering two things. We have this week, we are celebrating on Saturday, we are celebrating the birth of Christ. It doesn't matter what day it's on. Doesn't matter what that it's on December 25th. It doesn't matter that day. It matters that the birth of Christ is celebrated. The guy who came to earth, the God who came to earth in the form of one of us, that he allowed himself to be raised from the point of a child to a man of 33 years. He allowed himself to go through this so we could have a chance to hear what he had to say. But even more, he did one thing.
Can you wait, Boo Boo?
He
wait a little bit. Can you wait a little bit?
He did one thing. He went up on that cross being totally sinless. And he took all of our sins. All of our sins. And he made them, he took them all away from us, all the pain and the punishment that is due to us, by offering himself in our place for those sins. Now, the Islamic God is too small. People, find Christ. That's what Christmas is about. It's not just about a baby. It's about who Christ is. It's about what he did for you. It's not about anything you can do for him. Thank you all for listening. God bless. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Thanks, Paul. We'll see you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hey, Paul, I just want to say one thing about Sunday's show. Sunday's show
Sure.
touches on exactly what you were speaking about here in the end. Why did Jesus Christ come in the first place? What was the purpose of God entering into his creation and becoming that sacrificial atonement for our sins? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the Islamic view of Jesus and the Christian view of Jesus. And we'll see which one makes the best sense or the most sense.
I have something I'll send you on that. God bless everybody.
Okay,
Merry Christmas.
All right. Same to you. God
Bye.
bless.